In late spring of 1880, George Pullman and his workers began creating the town of Pullman, Illinois, so the building of Pullman rail cars could be done in a fully company-controlled environment. Control over leisure activities of Pullman Company workers was an important element of that company-created environment. Having vibrant sports opportunities available kept workers healthy and engaged, and the theory went away from the bars and alcohol consumption. Within 2 years, the eighth wonder of the world had been created along the shores of Lake Calumet, and it included in this planned community was the athletic island. Facilities on the island included covered wooden grandstands, a sixth-mile racetrack, viewing platforms for boat regattas, and a playground for team sports, including, as soccer was called at the time, football. The athletic island and the nearby playground were physical manifestations of the Pullman's community's commitment to sport. However, the fate of the athletic island itself was also an indication of how important sport was to Pullman's founder, George Pullman. While it hosted numerous local and national sporting competitions in the 1880s and 1890s, by the 1895 the wooden timbers of the grandstand were rotting. Shortly after George Pullman passed in 1897, the grandstands were torn down and the athletic island was replaced by a railed hood roadhouse. Despite the destruction of the physical grandstand, the nearby playground remained as an active space for sporting activity, including cricket and soccer. But eventually a soccer-specific ground was built in the early 20th century for Pullman's active soccer teams. The game of soccer is governed by 17 laws, of which 12 were officially written down by 1863 Football Association in the United Kingdom. There is a lot of contention about the significance of this administration and how these laws came to be, but it is widely acknowledged that the writing of those rules are the governing basis for football and soccer as it is today. In the 1870s and 80s in the US, however, the rules for football games were not exactly as clear as they are being formalized in the UK. That game is generally acknowledged as being more similar to soccer than D1 college football games in 2025. Closer to Chicago, the first football game in University, Michigan was in 1893. As the rules in this clipping show, definitely a lot closer to soccer than American football. The final score is indicative of that, Michigan beating Racing University 1-0, an impossible football score. It is impossible to discuss early soccer teams in Pullman without mentioning it as a close association with the sport of cricket in the community. The large part of the 19th century, the American pastime of baseball, cricket, however, has some pretty strong headwind against it when played in an urban area. To have a game very, very large open, that kind of space became significantly difficult to find. In addition to space, that time was also an issue. Cricket matches can last up to Lastly, competition from the sport of baseball, with its friendly confines, limited space, and its more constricted time, unlikely to be more than 4 hours. The history of one of Pullman's first formal soccer rivals, the Wanderers Cricket and Athletic Club, is a good example of those challenges and baseball's benefit. Founded in 1883, Wanderers initially secured grounds for the supporting pastimes in 35th and Fort Wayne train tracks, but due to the fact at Wentworth and 39th for their grounds. That land was sold to Charles Comiskey, who built his baseball palace in a much, much smaller patch of land than the Wanderers. In Pullman for the late 19th century to early 20th century, cricket was a popular pastime, and men from the Pullman community competed in Chicago's league in both sports. A number of soccer players, including future Soccer Hall of Famer Benny Gauvier, played cricket outside and during the soccer season. The soccer teams and cricket teams were part of a larger sports movement that the facilities the Pullman Company built enabled. The Pullman Athletic Association was inaugurated on October 21st, 1882, with a large celebration. The formalizing of an organizational structure allowed for the daily gathering of sportspeople on the playground to be formalized into teams that could compete against others.